All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Clannad After Story, episode 12. The domestic life continues. Tomoya has his job. It's going pretty well.
Yep.
Needing to figure out that whole work-life balance, you know?
Yeah.
Prioritize what matters most. But...
yeah, balance is something that's very important right now because while the two of them are very much, kind of joined at the hip for the most part, they're still not a couple in the like permanent sense or in the committed sense.
Right. They're dating, but like they're not actually living together. You know, they haven't done anything permanent.
They haven't
even though Tomoya doesn't seem to be thinking about it
yet.
That's true.
Things are kind of in that fun stage when they're kind of like playing house a little bit.
Right. Testing the waters.
But they don't really have that kind of overt communication about where their goals are going to be 1, 3, 5 years from now.
Exactly.
And part of that is kind of telling, potentially with regards to Nagisa, but it might just be the more traditional thing of where she's waiting for Okazaki to make the first move in that regard.
And they both have kind of taken notes out of each other's books of not necessarily talking about all their concerns with the other person.
Yes.
Out of a desire to not burden them. But of course, that's not what their partner wants. So
right. Exactly.
And yet it's what they do to them. So, it's
the wonderful little misadventures of an immature couple that loves each other, but still has a long way to go. Hopefully.
Well, yeah. Why wouldn't they?
Plenty of time to go. I swear this show is like, we're not tickling their balls. We're like about to tickle their balls and like make things really, really.
Are they going to tickle our balls or are they going to crush them?
Yeah. And so I'm like nervous, like constantly.
That little catch in your voice as you said it. Yeah. No, we had lightsaber battles last episode.
That's true. We did.
It's all gonna be fine, hunky dory and dandy, and just a grand old time.
Yes. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Huh.
Does seem that way.
Unlike your arm.
俺一人がここにいる。でも一人じゃない。同じように毎日すすにまみれる人たちがいる。俺が選んで新しく手に入れた場所だった。
And there's one other person too that you're with throughout all this.
Right.
But maybe you could be more with her if that makes sense. You could be with in a more specific way.
I see.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, that's a possibility.
さて、ここでクイズです。
また始まった。
俺が考えたこの夏最初のビッグイベントはさあどれ？1、海でバーベキュー。2、海でバッタンキュー。3、海でバーバラ藤岡。
似てるから悩みます。
最後の全然違ったら。
バーまで一緒だったっつうの。最近渚と遊べなくてさ。なんでもいいから一緒に行ってんだよ。
Little girl's growing up.
お二人が長い時間一緒にいるのは自然なことなんですけれど、なかなか離れできなくて。
はあ、そんなもんですかね。
No deflecting.
引っ越ししてからちゃんとお父さんに会いましたか？新しい住所ちゃんと伝えましたか？
いや、お前にも分かってる。あの人と俺の間には距離があるってヘトヘトになるまで働いてるんだ。
Don't have time.
休みの日ぐらいお前と一緒にいたい。嫌な思いはしたくないんだ。
そのうち一緒にお父さんに挨拶に。
Yeah.
いつかな。
で、私としては君を推薦しようと思ってるんだ。行ってみる気はないかい？
ちょっと待ってください。それってクビってことですか？勘違いするな。
The boy's not used to getting positive reinforcement.
今すぐ決めろとは言わないよ。でも前向きに考えてほしいな。
You've been doing good.
でも俺ずっとこの会社でやっていこうと思ってたのに。だいたい俺よりも吉野さんの方が即戦力じゃないですか。
Hence probably why he's.
俺は人付き合いが
Oh no,
職
it's
人にはな
that.
れるな監督には向かない。お前の方が若い分 可能性がある。
Sure, you can still change it a little bit more.
お前もいずれは家族を養う立場になる。
Yep.
そうだ。
Right.
大事な人がいるなら多少の苦労は乗り越えていけるもんだ。
He's thinking about how to respond. Yeah. Yeah.
この町にいた出来の悪いロック少年の話だ。
Oh shit, here we go.
Yep.
そいつはガキの頃から好き放題やってきた。叱ってくれるやつがいなかったから
Carefree.
悪いことばかりしていた。3年の時出会いがあった。彼女はそいつのラブソングを褒めてくれた。恥ずかしいような歌詞だったが彼女は真摯に意味を読み取ってくれた。卒業したら音楽で食っていくつもりだった。クラスの連中は彼を笑ったがその先生だけは励ましてくれた。ずっと続けていれば叶うから諦めないでと。別れの日そいつは言った。絶対にプロになるからそうしたら付き合ってくださいってな。
Yeah.
それからはただがむしゃらだった。
Wow.
歌いたいものを全力で歌った。時には醜いものも歌った。
Dang, that was some cool animation. Whoa.
Yeah.
ある時テレビ局から企画が持ち込まれた。そいつのファンに会うという企画だった。ただのファンじゃない。そいつの音楽を聴いて救われた。そして今なお逆境に立っている奴らだ。
Oh.
病気の者、事故に遭
Oh.
った者、親のせいでとんでもない苦労をしている者、精神が弱くて今にも壊れてしまいそうな。
Oh my god.
Forgot about this.
みんな苦しみのただ中にいた。もう自分の歌は自分一人のものじゃない。それを思い知らされた。それまでそいつがやってきたのは自分のための音楽だった。今は違っていた。
He saw them
会ったことがない
the first time.
何千何万という人間たちのために音楽を作らなくてはならなくなったんだ。
And now he can't do it anymore.
そいつは
Yep.
曲が作れなくなっていった。現実の壮絶さを、自分の浅はかさを、薄っぺらさを思い知ったからだ。事務所には休養を言い渡された。
Yep.
そしてその半年後、番組で会ったやつが罪を犯した。取り返しのつかないような大きな罪だ。事件を起こしたのはあなたの歌を聴くと気持ちが落ち着く。早く新曲が聴きたいととりわけ熱心に
And then he stopped making music. And so he freaked out. Yeah.
Yep.
彼は再び歌い始めた。無理な理想や綺麗事を歌った。それが自分を待つ奴らを救うことだと思い込んだ。
No. Oh
ど
no.
うしてこん
Yeah.
なことを歌っているのか自分でさえよくわからなかった。でも疑念を振り払って歌い続けた。そして彼は最悪の方法を取った。取り返しのつかない過ちだった。すがるものもなく絶望の中、彼はただ一度だけ願った。帰りたいと。
No way.
まだ音楽は続けてる？
何もかも変わってしまった。変わらないわけにはいかなかった。
諦めないで続けていれば夢は叶うから。
でも見失ってはいけないことがあった。歌い続けるべきだった。誰のためでもなくこの人のためにラブソングを。おい、着いたぞ。話は終わりだ。行くぞ。
Ugh.
はい。
Ugh.
Yep.
岡崎。はい。大事なものを見失うなよ。
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
That was beautiful.
さあ来い。
岡崎さんは一緒に遊ばないの？子供と遊ぶより彼女のそばにいたいわよね。ほんとなぎさ綺麗になって。
ありがとうございます。
明日久しぶりだな。
Oh.
見た目も優しくなった気がします。よその方とも楽しそうに話してました。すごく自然に。
Yeah, he had a little bit of a priorities reevaluating.
Yep.
人の世話は焼いてきたのにな、ナキさ。
はい。取っていいですか？
ああ、頼む。もしもし、岡崎です。ああ、親方、お疲れ様です。
Oh.
木下さんから？
ともやくん？
親父の知り合いから電話あったってさ。なんだろう。
Oh no.
もしもし、岡崎です。
Oh
あ、ともやくん、大変なんだよ。
no. Oh no.
あんたのおやじさんね、捕まっちゃったんだよ、警察に。
Okay, well, he's
やばい
alive.
取引してたんだってさ。話聞いて君に連絡しなきゃってね。
Yeah, okay, okay.
悪いけど、この話
No!
向こうから。
You're kidding me!
もちろんここでは今まで通り働いてくれればいいんだよ。ちょっと時期が悪かったね。気を落とさないでね。
Yeah.
ナギサ、
はい。
二人でこの町出ないか。今度のことで分かった。俺あいつに呪われてるんだ。あいつの呪いの届かない場所でやり直したい。
ダメです。それは逃げることです。
Way to go. Way to go.
私を幸せにしてほしいです。この町
Oh,
で。
でも
okay.
それはこの町じゃなくてもできるだろう。さえいればいいって言ってくれないのか。
私はともやくんさえいればどんな場所にだって行きます。
But
でも、
yeah.
この町を出るときは前向きな気持ちじゃないとダメです。でないとここは帰ってくる場所じゃなくなってしまいます。
Uh-huh. That's really good.
この町は場所です。
Oh, here we go.
あんたは一体何がしたいんだよ。人の人生の邪魔して楽しいのかよ。俺はあんたを親だなんて思ってないけどな、世の中はそう思ってくれないんだよ。俺はあんたの息子なんだ。もう喋る気もないのかよ。迷惑かけた息子に何か言うことないの
It's
か
not
よ。
even looking him in the eye, really.
ふざけんなよ。
I can't. Yeah.
お風呂入るとききっと痛みます。
ナギサ、結婚しよ
Yeah.
う。いいのか。
私もともやくん以外にいないと思ってました。
こんなだぞ。俺こんな情けない。
私も情けないです。二人一緒なら強くなれます。
そばにいてくれるか。
Oh.
はい、ずっとそばにいます。私も
Well, that was a really good episode. Y'all, that episode got me fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
that episode got me really good.
Like
It's
3 times over.
Yeah, the two big parts really here is the Yoshino's story is told in a reason that makes sense to be brought up specifically in a expository manner to Okazaki.
Yep.
But the subject matter is so mature in a way that I feel like even if you were like a reasonably older teenager, like you were in high school, college age, like 17, 18, 19, I still think you wouldn't necessarily get a large portion of what Yoshino is trying to communicate here. Because the summarized point of the story was to don't forget what's most important to you.
Right.
But that's
Very simple.
a very simple and efficient way to communicate something basically and saying, hey, don't this.
Right.
You know,
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Keep the main thing the main thing. There's a lot of truth to that, in that the story was primarily about that.
Yep.
But there are some other things about the story that I think you'd only really pick up as like a, oh shit, you didn't even think about that, unless maybe you kind of lived that a little bit. And I don't want to go into my whole story and everything like that, but there's an element of that within the idea of having something that's important to you that was your motivating factor for doing this in such a serious way. Because you made the promise to her of, oh, I'm going to become a professional.
Right. I will take this seriously.
Right. Now, he wanted to be a professional before that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had this little extra spark to it because he had met her.
Right.
And that's when we see him doing the waving thing, and he's like shocked at like, wait, am I really that excited to see her again? And then he goes and he's like, yeah, I will. And he goes and does this. He maybe kind of loses himself a little bit in the midst of it, but not really. Sure. He more just took the passion and kind of swelled into it. I don't know.
Not the suffering from success thing, but like he got distracted because of course he would in a situation like that where his world gets opened up in a way that I'm guessing he wouldn't necessarily have thought of. Like
okay, I get what you're saying there, but I was trying to kind of more focus on the idea that he was really so focused on the passion of doing this, he didn't think about what he was actually doing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like he was so in it that he wasn't, any sacrifice basically that he would make to get this was just like, oh yeah, of course.
Sure.
He made mention of like how his lyrics sounded, because that was framed in the story that he was later going to show how the lyrics didn't make sense, or they were contradictory, or were just bleak and just
later. Even though the earlier lyrics that he even mentioned how some of the lyrics weren't that great.
No, they weren't that great.
But it was something where it was absolutely coming from the heart, right? The passion was behind it.
Yeah.
So almost blindly so that once it stopped happening, he didn't know how to get it going again.
Right. There was an inherent contradiction in the reasons why he was doing the music and the music itself. Thus, this is something that I feel like might have been not intentionally put down, but this is how I read into it. The music attracted an audience that he didn't actually know how to connect with. Thus, when he sees them, there's this element of him being like, shit, oh no, I've been faking it this whole time by doing whatever lyrics needed to do to sell, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because the passion was there.
Right.
And thus, his ideals in the music attracted all these people who were like, yes, this is something that gets me through the day. And he's like, oh shit, wait.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure, but also I was originally doing this for me. Thus, all those elements of doing it kind of in a way that would just sell, he didn't think about. Now suddenly he feels maybe a little bit guilty for that. And he's like, I have to switch up my thing. But then he loses the passion. So it wasn't that he was doing anything wrong initially.
No, but he wasn't building up a tolerance to the situation that he was putting himself in.
Exactly.
And so then all of a sudden he has that
splash of reality.
That splash of reality, and he's like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah.
I'm on
it wakes him from a dream, basically.
Right. I'm on a stage in front of a ton of people, and I'm having a specific event where I go to meet fans that have it be one of the things that keeps them going.
Yep.
And then how do you deal with that, right?
How do you deal with that?
And so of course it's something that throws him off. And then
but that's the thing. I honestly think this is part of the reason why it threw him off. Mm-hmm. It's not because he lost the passion inherently. It was because he became aware of the contradiction. The reason why he went to go out and do this was for himself.
Yes. And then suddenly it's and then it stops being that, but then he's been living his life going after this thing, but he has changed he has and he hasn't, but he hasn't reconciled Right, he has changed, but the music hasn't changed, and it was the music that the old him would have made, but he's not that person anymore. So then once he realizes I'm not that person anymore, the music doesn't seem to fit, what does he do?
Right, but this is the other thing. She changed him because I think, this is the thing, he wouldn't necessarily actually have cared as much about those kids and stuff.
If not for her?
If not for her.
Gotcha.
I think there's a possibility that they're bringing in this thing of where the kids was not just a foregone conclusion that he would just have this rush of empathy and change who he is.
Sure.
He could have the rush of empathy and have this moment of where he's like, whoa, my music is more than just mine, but he could then just keep doing it thinking, okay, I can rationalize it in my head.
Keep laying the tracks in front of the train, kind of a deal.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Just the idea that he can rationalize in his head because the music was already helping him, so he didn't need to change anything.
Okay.
But he believed he did need to change something because he had guilt of the way it was not in, like the music itself was not in alignment with who he was. Therefore, he was no longer the selfish person originally, meaning before he saw the kids. The kids didn't entirely just change who he was.
Right.
The kids revealed to him
that was the reality
who he
check.
was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So there was like 3 layers to this. There's the identity he had in high school, where he was kind of the asshole. He just did whatever he wanted.
Yep.
He didn't care about anybody else. Someone came along, changed him to where he cared about one person other than himself. We don't know, because the story doesn't make it a focus as to whether or not that enriched his other relationships or made him less of a delinquent or anything. The story didn't seem that to be relevant, so it didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
But he was changed just enough to where he cared about her in addition to himself. He still primarily cared about himself, but his heart had been opened up to the point that when those kids showed up, he didn't just kind of go, oh, cool, that touches my heart, but I'm not like, because I'm a human being. Like, he's not,
right.
He's not necessarily unfeeling, but it's just the idea of where it'd be like, oh, it didn't make him have this, like, moral conundrum. It did give him the moral conundrum because he had become less of a selfish person.
He got a stronger why for why he was doing the music before he left as a result of meeting her.
Yes.
And then as a result of that, then he suddenly realizes, oh, wait, my why isn't good enough anymore. It doesn't match up. I need to fix that. He tries to fix that. It doesn't necessarily work well. He has a bit of a meltdown. Fairly normal. That happens, so he tries to reset. But then when he tries to reset, one of the people that he talked to kills himself.
Yeah.
And
this is the part that I would say that he probably was not a fragile, I mean, he was a fragile person in general before this, but one, it shows that it was his lack of connections that made him overly attached to the result of what happened with the kid.
Okay,
and this
I
is
like
something
it.
that I feel like is a bit of a thing that could be seen as rather cold here, but let me unpack this a little bit. He said he lived for himself before this.
Right.
We don't see anyone around him other than her. I think he led a very solitary life. When he was playing music in the classroom, nobody else was there.
Well, and even if they were, it would have been, the people who are listening to music, whatever, but like when he goes off to do the music, he is very much on his own.
Well, not only that, but he's not trying to build a band. This is one of the things that I thought was like very unsubtle here. He's not doing the typical high school thing of building a band. We don't see him trying to form a club.
Sure, he's a solo
said himself,
performer.
right, and he said himself in this episode, I'm not good at socializing. This guy made a reputation for himself by being the one who lived for himself. And thus, when he sees the opportunity in the ways in which him living for himself benefited others, he has the conundrum of, wait, am I living a lie because my selfish acts are still helping people because it's being distributed in this way to which it can benefit other people? But that wasn't his intention. That wasn't his desire.
It feels very much like it's the kind of thing where his identity was very much wrapped up in his music, which is totally fine with.
Right.
It served him very well.
He was able to become a rock star.
He was able to become a rock star. Great. Awesome. But then suddenly, sand gets thrown into the machine, right? And he's like, oh, my music is who I am. I disconnect. I don't like that. And then tries to change it and it doesn't go well.
Right. And the end result being one where if the music is something that he doesn't fully believe in or he doesn't fully align with, he can't attach his identity to it because
he can't do it.
Right. And thus he spirals.
Right.
That all makes sense. But I think the instigating reasons why are potentially even like more nuanced, and which is why I wanted to bring up this whole discussion here. It feels like something that's way more heartbreaking than what it actually is on the surface. And thus, he comes back to her and says nothing. Like, he doesn't speak.
No, it's just a chance encounter and he breaks down.
Well, it's a chance encounter. But as she's approaching him, they chose to animate his face reacting so terrified and with such apprehension and fear of what she's going to say in response. And all she basically says is, are you keeping up with music? Just not.
Oh, yeah. The character animation from this episode
was crazy. Was so good.
Fantastic. Absolutely incredible. The multidimensionality of the emotions that is portrayed is incredible.
Stunning. Yeah.
Stunning. I related so hard to the are you keeping up with your artistic endeavor?
Because some people could see that as a thing of where it's a good thing. Yeah. Because she's saying, well, I remembered you, but also the thing
asking
of like
about your interest and your passion.
I'm caring about your interest and passion. Or you could see it as actually like a curse.
Yeah.
She just dropped the thing on him that he was most terrified.
I have had some pretty wonderful conversations with fellow artistic people about that question. Yep. Because there are very different ways that I answer that question. Depending on who asks it, right?
Yeah. And how they ask it.
Yeah. But like most of the time, if it's someone where, you know, it's the pleasantry ask, even if it's a genuine care and interest, you know, there's
kind
the one
of a
answer.
Lazy ask.
Right, exactly. It's like I give the fairly
how
standard
are you doing?
kind of answer.
Oh,
yeah, it's how are you doing kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, and if I'm close to the person, I'll open up a bit. But when the people who know the process ask that question, I'm like, first off, why would you do that? Like, you know, like, okay, all right, yeah, let's spend the next 30 minutes talking about like deep set emotional trauma because of, you know, personal loves. You know, it's like, all right, let's do it. You know, and so the idea that it something as innocuous and simple as that undoes him, right?
Yeah, he unravels right in front of her.
Yep.
We don't know the story after that.
No.
All we know is that they did end up
together, and he is not playing music anymore.
He is not playing music.
Right?
Well, he might be playing music for her.
Right.
We don't know because that's between them. That's their relationship.
Exactly.
But his story he shares with Okazaki.
He is working as an electrician.
Because he remembered what's important to him, and it might have been her.
Right.
Even more so than the music.
Exactly. The music might have just been him wanting to make sure he was staying true to himself, and that was the vehicle in which it was put forth into the world. And then suddenly it changes to something different, and life gets real simple.
If you will, it was always a connection with a person outside of himself that caused him to have these milestone shift moments. It's almost like the show is trying to point out, basically, the power of love and friendship. And
a big Dongo family.
Yeah, and a big Dongo family.
Yep.
Is the kind of thing that gives people not just identity, but just that feeling of belonging and security and safety and happiness. Yeah. So, Okazaki, then, at the end of the episode, has a very harsh bit of reality slap him in the face while realizing that he lives in a culture where shame is such a fundamental practice that if your father is a criminal,
daddy did drugs,
well, then we can't do business together because theoretically, it's bullshit, but, you know, whatever. There's a lot of cultures that are like that. Gotcha. That sucks. And in his pain and frustration of this whole thing, the one person that's nearby him begs him, please, 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 don't hurt yourself like this. You're hurting me by doing this. And so he thinks about someone other than himself in this moment.
And things get a lot simpler.
Because in a really like simple way, he's been wanting to ask her to marry him for a while. But he's been kind of scared of himself. He's been scared of all that other stuff, and now this is just a thing where he's like, I confronted it. It was brutal. It did not work out well.
Nope.
But okay, you're the most important thing to me.
Right.
Let's just do this. And she's so gracious in that. Oh, of course.
Right.
Yes.
Like totally not the super romantic.
No, this is like the worst time to propose. It's like, this is so bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's almost like a little manipulative, actually. Like it's
right.
Like,
if he was intending it that way.
No, of course he's not intending it that way. He's out of sorts. He's not.
Exactly.
He's not thinking on that level. But it's just the kind of thing where it'd be like, she probably is going to like, in like 6 months, be like, I'd really love it if we like, if you could like propose to me again. Like,
right. Make an event out of it.
That would be.
But at the same time,
cool.
that's the perfect time for him to propose. This is me. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know all my shit.
Yeah.
Are you still gonna be with me?
Yeah, you don't need to be a professional.
Right. Like,
you just need to be true to yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This feels like such a wonderful way in which Okazaki is, albeit learning the hard way, but learning the lesson of not running away from your own problems, take your own happiness for yourself, and don't let other people tell you what you do and don't deserve. Because the part that made the promotion, new job so wonderful and so soul crushing when he lost it is because he had never really been accepted by society, right? Like even when they bring the thing up, he doesn't realize that they're offering him the job. He's like, wait, you want me to stop working here? Like, what's going on, right?
Right.
Because how could I possibly get something good? Oh, yeah, no, I guess, of course I couldn't get something good, right? I'm me. Yeah. I don't deserve any of that shit. Of course it'll get taken away. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get something good after all.
Just really excited for the next episode of them not being like, okay, well now we're going to be focused on the fact that
we're getting married.
And Akio and Sanai are like, what the fuck?
We're gonna be grandparents, maybe.
They better be fucking grandparents. I swear to God, this anime better give us that.
That would be wonderful.
I mean, the OP very clearly both times seems to have a kid very prominently like focused in it. That's also like looks a little bit like Nagisa and also like has the same look in each one there. So it's very clearly the same kid. So that's either that's just the dream and the anime is being like, haha, fuck you, that's never happening.
The ultimate like, no, you thought the OP and ED are canonical? No, that's just it's just a metaphor for the big Dongo family that, that this all is. Yeah.
But
also music. They keep just using it to twist the knife and they do it so well. Like
But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.